What's up, owner investor? In this video, I'm going to show you where to find high quality information about businesses. That way, you're not just relying on other people's opinions and you're filtering out like good information from not so great information. Um, all right, so the three key themes here. Theme number one, you want to be like Sherlock Holmes when you're, digging through different articles or company filings, just looking for little clues here and there and, fitting it together on kind of this larger canvas of what will end up being the simple valuation spreadsheet that we went over in the last video, right? So that's theme number one, be like Sherlock Holmes and, sniff around for little clues. Um, Theme number two is don't get lost in the details. Ignore everything that doesn't help us answer those six fundamental questions that I'll post those six questions in every video. So those six questions are going to be your kind of the guideposts as you go through the process of doing a little bit of research and the middle school math behind valuing stocks. So that's theme number two. Don't get lost in the details. And theme number three is to focus on the facts and ignore people's opinions. Right. So when you read articles and we read blog posts, or even when we read what the management of the company says, a lot of times they will give us their opinion, right? And what we want to do is focus purely on the facts and let the numbers guide our thinking instead of what other people think, because we want to form our own views based on the facts, right? So that's number three, focus on the facts and ignore opinions. So, all right, let's get into it. So when it comes to gathering information, I would say there's 11 different sources of information, and we're going to go through every single one here for Costco. All right, so let's get into it. So the first source is overall financial data, and for this, we can just go to Yahoo Finance. So there's lots of other websites you can go to, but Yahoo Finance is just a great place to start. And as you level up your game as an investor, we can talk about some of the other places you can go. But this is just like a really simple, quick snapshot of the company, right? Stock. You can even get like the historical, like the financial data for the last 3 years here, right? Like revenues, gross profit, operating income, and this has all three of the financial statements, right? This has the income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow statement. Don't worry, we'll go through like how to actually read these things in a separate module. But for now, I just want to show you where to find all this information. So it's all here on Yahoo Finance. The limitation here is that it only goes back for TTM. This is trailing 12 months, and it goes back 4 years, 4 fiscal years, right? Sometimes we want more data, like going further back, but for the free version, this is what's available. And then we can do the statistics, right? So this gives us kind of the overall market cap, enterprise value, some of the key like multiples, how efficient the business is at turning, dollars invested back into the business and turning that into future profits, right? Management effectiveness, and return on equity and return on assets. Again, like we'll talk about what all this stuff means. So there's lots of useful information here, right? So this is the overall financial data. So this is bucket number one. Okay, so source number one. Source number two is company filings. So I use a website called BAM SEC. It's a really slick website. The user interface is really nice. So I have a paid version. So let me just log out here. So this is the free version. So you can still use it, but it's just you can't go into like all the filings, going back like tens of years. But to get started, you don't really need to go into all this detail. So this is FY 2022 10K. This is the annual report. This is the latest annual report the Costco's filed. There's been 2 subsequent quarterly filings, but let's just go to the annual report, kind of see what this looks like. So the first thing here is you'll see the number of shares outstanding on the first page, and then you have a table of contents about what is exactly in this document. Um, okay, so this is kind of what we'll look at in the next module, but the business, right? This is basically just the management team describing Costco's business model, right? How they make money, who their customers are, um, and this is kind of where we're going to start our journey when we look at any business, right? But that's for a separate video. I just want to show you where to find this information in this video. You can also, so BAM SEC is only for the US. So, Basic Fit, for example, is not listed in the US. So for Basic Fit, all you have to do is, Google Basic Fit Investor Relations, and you'll get to the Investor Relations site. And this will have all the information that you need. So annual reports. So the Basic Fit annual report, this is the latest annual report. Right, so this has all the information, right? All the places that they operate, some key figures, a lot of useful information about the business. Okay, so this will feed into so that's source number 2. So source number 1 is overall financial data. So I'll just have that tab open here so we can just have it all the time. So Yahoo Finance, so this is for overall financial data. For company filings, you can go to BAM SEC, or you can go to the company website for filings. Bucket number 3, source number 3, sorry. Source number 3 is company presentation. So not every company will have like investor presentations, but Basic Fit does. Costco has, I think, one that they do at their annual meeting every year. And their presentations don't really have a ton of information, but Basic Fit has really useful presentations. So, it's much easier to go through these than annual reports. So, if a company does have this, I actually prefer to look at this before the annual report. But not every company does, right? I don't think Apple or Amazon have very useful company presentations. So it varies from one business to another. So this is all like really useful information. We're going to go through what all this stuff means in the rest of the course. But I just want to set up kind of set the frame here. Okay, so we have general financial data, overall financial data, and then company filings like this. And then we have, just move this real quick. Company presentations. Computer's freezing up here. Okay, so we have, whoops. So overall financial data, company filings is number 2. Number 3 is company presentations. Okay, number 4 is earnings calls. And for earnings calls, we're going to use a website called Quartr, Quartr. This is a really great website. There is an app that you can download that's free. So I would actually use the app and not the desktop version. So the idea here is that every 4 times a year for most companies, and then some European companies, it's twice a year. The management team hosts an earnings call, and anyone can dial in and listen to the company basically talk about what happened to the business over that period, whether it's over a 6-month period or a 4-month or a 3-month period. So these are very useful, and you can play them at like 1.5 to 2 times speed, and you get a lot of really useful information. The company will talk about the business and what happened. So that's source number 4, earnings calls. Okay, source number 5, just like news articles, right? Like if I want to read about Costco, pricing comparison, right? There's tons, like the CNET article, right? That talks about, this is a lot of really useful information here, for example, right? Like they're doing a price comparison between Costco and Stop and Shop, and you can see like how much money you'll save by shopping at Costco, right? So there's lots of articles that you can read, Business Insider articles, Again, what I'm looking for here is like I'm looking for numbers, right? I'm not looking for opinions. Um, and articles are a lot of times are like extremely useful. Like for example, um, like with Costco, I think there was like this lawsuit, Titleist lawsuit. Um, yeah, like Costco was sued by Titleist for some kind of patent infringement. Um, So, there's like plenty of articles that talk about this, right? So news articles can be really helpful, but it takes time, right? Like you have to kind of go through, like see like what's useful, what's not useful, and then out for every, 10 articles that you see, maybe like one of them will be useful, right? Um, so it helps like if you do the other things first, like if you read about the company and you listen to some earnings calls, and then you know kind of like what the key issues to focus on are, and then you just Google about those issues, and then specific articles about that will come up. And then you can just kind of skim through those articles about that relevant issue instead of just if I just Google like Costco here, right? There's just going to be a bunch of useless articles that come up. Um, uh, yeah, like this touchscreen toaster. Like I don't really care about this touchscreen toaster being on sale at Costco, right? Um, so you'll save a lot of time if you do the other stuff, these other things first, and then come to the articles. Okay, so that's number 5, news articles. Okay, number 6 is Reddit. So Reddit is like really helpful when you want to learn about like customer reviews or like vendor relationships. It's like I recently discovered Reddit and like how useful Reddit can be, right? Costco, for example, is a really great example because Costco specifically has a Reddit thread of like super fans, and there's like 300,000 super fans that like post tons of little like tidbits here and there. Like most of it is not that helpful, but you can just kind of like skim through some of these. Um, and sometimes it is useful. Like they'll do like price comparisons, or they'll talk about like some kind of shopping experience. Just little anecdotes here and there that can add up in your research process, like picking up little clues here and there, like being like Sherlock Holmes, right? So that's source number 6, Reddit. So source number 7, and this is a really helpful one, which are YouTube videos, particularly of like the founder or the CEO giving interviews, right? So the founder of Costco is Jim Senegal. He's one of the 2 founders, so Jim Senegal, Costco. And there are lots of like really helpful, like this 1 hour long interview or talk of Jim Senegal, right? So I'll just like come through here and okay, so this is an ad, so I can't play it. But here, I'll just mute this. Um, so a lot of times they'll have transcripts where you can search for like specific things. Skip the ads, and now you can play this at like 2 times speed, and you can just have this like running, um, in the background, and you're listening for like key things, right? Like Jim Senegal will talk about how, one of their locations in Korea did like 400 million in revenue, in the first 2 years, like something like that, right? And you just pick up these little tidbits of information, right? Like one of the things I like to do here is just come in and just search like million, right? And immediately, you'll see, they sell 60 million chickens over the course of a year, right? And then you keep going here. 90 million cardholders. I mean, that's going to be in the annual report. So there's a lot of these little tidbits that management teams will release information that's not in the company filings or the presentations, but they just kind of like, throw these little nuggets when they're being interviewed on CNBC or when they're giving a talk to a bunch of college students. And it's nice to kind of listen to these things and really just kind of familiarize yourself more and more with the business model, right? Um, so yeah, so this stuff is really helpful. So and on YouTube, there's so many creators that um, put out like really helpful content as it relates to businesses and investing. So one of the guys I like to follow is this account called Company Man. His videos are really useful in terms of like getting started, right? Like he's not going to tell you, hey, like is this like a durable business model, or how fast is the business going to grow for the next 5 to 10 years? He just gives you kind of like a, hey, here's like a quick overview of the business, right? So he has a great, I think he has a couple videos actually on Costco. Costco, why they're so successful, right? A 10-minute video, and they're like very engaging videos. There's a lot of useful information, and like very quickly you can like understand like, okay, what's going on? Why is Costco successful? What are the key aspects of the business model? So Company Man, this guy, and I'll post a link to like all of these creators that I'm going to mention in the rest of the video, but that's a really good one. Another really good YouTube creator is the Swedish Investor. Um, so this guy. So if instead of reading investing books, you want like quick summaries, this guy has really great summaries of like, okay, so one of the books I really liked is Psychology of Money. So, in 15 minutes, 7.5, if you're playing it at 2 times speed, he'll give you like a quick overview of the key concepts from the Psychology of Money, which is like a really great like money mindset book that you kind of want to understand these key principles, before really like delving into investing. It's a really helpful and like simple and powerful book. And some of the concepts from the book I've already talked about in the introductory in previous modules. So Swedish Investor, Company Man, these are two really good YouTube creators. Another really great YouTube creator is Ali Abdal. So Ali is really good at like, again, like very introductory type stuff about like what does it mean to buy a stock? How to achieve financial freedom. He talks a lot about, productivity hacks. And he's just like an overall, like a great guy. And I love watching his content. So he's another like really good source. He doesn't really have great things about companies specifically, right? So the Company Man, obviously he talks about businesses. Um, Swedish Investor talks a lot about books and investing concepts. And Ali Abdal talks a lot about like, investing mindsets. So those are just a few examples. There's a lot of other helpful creators on YouTube that you can watch, but those are just a few of them. Okay, so that was source number 7. Source number 8, and this is probably the most powerful source that you can leverage, which is investing blogs. Okay, so there are 3 key investing blogs. So there's Seeking Alpha, there's Substack, and there's Value Investors Club. Okay, so Seeking Alpha is a lot of like amateur investors. They talk about different stocks that they own, and some of the research that they've done. And I would say in terms of quality, Seeking Alpha has a lot of quantity, but the quality isn't as good as Substack or Value Investors Club. But it's just a good place to kind of see, read what some other, retail investors are like, how they're thinking about stocks and kind of the research that they've done. Again, focusing on the numbers and not opinions. By the end of this course, the goal should be for you to read some of these Seeking Alpha articles and see, okay, cool, this is like an interesting piece of analysis that they did, but this is what that's missing, and that's what I need to do. That's what I'm going to add in my research, right? So that's kind of how I would view Seeking Alpha. It's more, there's a lot of content, but it's not like high quality as Substack, right? So Substack has a lot of really great creators. Some of them I would say are professional investors, but again, most of them are more on the like amateur side, like guys that haven't worked at funds before, but the research is really good. Like they do pretty solid analysis. I'm trying to see if I can find something on Costco here. Here we go, business breakdowns, right? So again, like if you just like quickly like just go through these and just look for numbers instead of opinions, it's really useful. But I mean, again, like this is not um, you're not gonna like they're not gonna be able to do the work for you completely, right? Like this is just another source for you to leverage. Like when you look at a company, right? Like there's obviously information overload. So again, like if you just focus on those six key questions, um, it won't be as overwhelming, right? And then also in your research, when you're looking for specific things, you can search for those specific concepts on um, Costco, right? So with Costco, there's like a really important framework called scale economies shared. That we'll talk about this in later modules, but this is one of the key things to kind of understand what makes Costco such a great business. Um, and let's see, if we do that, you should be able to find, um, yeah, okay, so the search function on Substack is not very good. So Costco, scale, economies, shared, Substack. Yeah, here we go. So this is probably a better article. There's more information here. Yeah, there we go. This is like a much higher quality piece on Costco. Um, Again, like this should be you should view this as like a supplement to your own research, and not just like read an article and buy the stock. Okay, so that's Seeking Alpha, Substack. Okay, and then Value Investors Club. This is the highest quality investing blog on the internet. Period. Full stop. Because this is a much more exclusive blog that's founded by a guy named Joel Greenblatt, who's one of the greatest investors of all time. So these articles have been so as a anyone can just view the articles that are most of the articles that are on Value Investors Club with a 90-day delay. So you can create a free account and you can view everything with a 45-day delay. But then to view articles in real time, you have to submit your own like investment write up, and then they have to approve it. And it's a very high bar to be approved onto Value Investors Club. Um, and once you get in, then you can view everything in real time. But if you just want to know like some basic stuff about Costco, right? There's like three articles, right, about Costco um, that'll talk about kind of what makes the business tick, what are like the key things they focus on. Here, this is like all the categories. That's obviously already like in the annual report, but you just get to like reading these articles, you learn how, and the difference with Value Investors Club is it's a lot of it is professional investors that work at hedge funds, and they're all anonymous, right? So it's the best ideas win. It's not based on who works at what fund, um, and they do a lot of high quality research. And the guys that work at funds, they have access to resources that you know everyday retail investors don't have access to. So the quality of their analysis is like on another level because of that, right? Like some of the best articles, like so NVR. Um, this is like one of my favorite investment write-ups. So this guy, Charlie 479, obviously he hasn't written up anything new and over in a long time. But his write-ups are this is kind of the gold standard of what a stock pitch should be like, right? So back when I was an undergrad, I graduated a semester early, and so I read through all the contest winners. So Value Investors Club also has a monthly contest where they give $5,000 for the best write-up that was posted on the website. So I read like all the contest winners from the year 2000 to like 2010, and that was like a key part of my development as an investor. So as you cultivate, these investing skills, reading more and more of these articles, you'll kind of get like snappier on what to look for, what to ignore, what matters, and what to really focus on, and what a good investment pitch sounds like, what it reads like. Um, and it's just pattern recognition, and you just get better with reps, right? Like it's like anything, like going to the gym and working out. But the nice part about reading the Value Investors Club write-ups is you don't have to do like a ton of research on your own to get the reps, right? It's almost like um, you get reps based on other people's research, and then you can do your own research on top of that, if any of that makes sense. Like you can get like I'd like to call it like synthetic reps that you can get by sidestepping the necessity to do your own research. Early on in your development as an investor, you don't need to do you can improve your ability to your pattern recognition, and then you do your own research, right? So I like to just when I was getting started as an investor, I liked reading these write-ups to improve my abilities to know what to look for before doing like a ton of research um, on my own. So, and that's the beauty of this course. Like, I want you to get to a point where reading these write-ups, like they make sense to you, right? Like a lot of times they're going to be throwing around terms that you don't really understand, or they're making like logical leaps that it's tough to follow. But hopefully at the end of this course, you'll be able to follow more closely what these professional investors are talking about in their stock pitches. And so that way, you can just be the most efficient investor, right? Like you go to one of these blogs, you find an interesting pitch, and then you do like a little bit of research on your own. Maybe talk to a few people, and then you might be ready to like buy the stock right after doing like a little bit of research. But it'll be very high quality research because you've already leveraged other people's research, and not just anyone's research, but other professional investors that work at like $100 million, $1 billion hedge funds, right? So um, again, like this is source number 8, and this is the most powerful source. And one of the goals you should think about this course is to be able to leverage this source. Um, okay, source number 9. So source number 9 is Twitter, right? Twitter has some pretty amazing investing content. Like if you just follow the right Twitter accounts, it'll really help you kind of build the long-term investor mindset. So some of the people that I like to follow are this guy, Brian Feroldi. He is great. He posts a lot of great like investing mindset tweets, and he also has a newsletter. Like all these creators, you sign up to their newsletter, on the main page of their Twitter account. So Brian, I love Brian's content. It's like really clean. He posts a lot of like useful information on like accounting and like, more detailed stuff than what you'll find in this overview course. Um, uh, yeah, like see, like this is such a great post, right? The stock, the business, there's like a lot of volatility in the stock, but then the business just has like like this is the type of business you want to own, right? Like is that just has long-term growth, but the stock is going to fluctuate a lot, and it's going to be easy to kind of like try to trade, but you should ignore that, right? So Brian is a great Twitter account to follow. Another really great Twitter account is Cody Sanchez. So she does a lot of like she buys out small businesses, like boring businesses like laundromats, car washes, and she posts about her journey doing that, and a lot of like motivational stuff in here as well. But there's a ton of like really practical, useful advice about just like how to be like a private business operator, right? So I really like Cody. Another one is Sahil Bloom. So Sahil posts a lot of like content on how to think about just content on how to think. And it doesn't have to just be investing, but it also just like life overall, like different cognitive biases, right? Like this one, a concept that changed my life, the time billionaire, right? It's this idea that like an old wealthy guy, he might have $1 billion, but he's old, but a young broke guy is a time billionaire. And oftentimes the old money billionaire would easily swap places with the time billionaire, right? So it's content like that that really helps you kind of like think like more broadly about self-improvement and life. But Sahil's background is also like I think he worked in private equity, he's worked in finance, so he also has like a lot of useful investing content as well. And then lastly, I would say Alex Hormozy has a lot of really great content. So Alex has more of a sales background, and like he runs acquisition.com where he buys small businesses or he buys like stakes in small businesses. So he talks a lot about again like mindset, self-improvement, but a lot of also just like really practical stuff about operating businesses, right? And I don't whether you're a small business owner or a large business owner or not. When you're an investor, you want to really think like an operator, right? So following these guys that are real, true operators helps you kind of get into that mentality of being an operator, right? Because when you own a portfolio of stocks, you are now a passive investor in these businesses, and you should think like as if you're an operator, right? And if you do get the opportunity to meet management or you talk to former employees, you want to be able to have those conversations where you can think like an operator, and that'll make you a much better investor. So that's the last. And there's tons of Twitter accounts that you can follow. Like Layla Hormozy, Alex's wife, is also a really great one to follow. Um, but okay, so that was source number 9. Source number 10 is podcasts. There are some really great podcasts that I love to listen to. Okay, so there are 3 main podcasts that I would recommend. Okay, so Business Breakdowns is the best one. So they'll interview like I think it's usually like a professional investor, like at a hedge fund or a mutual fund or equity research that went like really deep into a business, and they'll go and like the Walt Disney like that. This is like a 50-minute video going like deep into Disney, right? So this might even be like a more efficient way for you to research a company. And you might not even have to. I think you should still always like go through the company filings and the original source documents, but going through these podcasts is a really helpful way to figure out like what matters, right? And you can just like listen to these on a run. And Business Breakdowns has some really high quality breakdowns. Like they have one on Costco and Basic Fit. I don't know if they have one on Spotify, but they have one on Costco and on Basic Fit that are really good. That it's like a professional investor talking about, hey, like these are the things that I looked at and these are the things I analyzed. What they don't do is they don't really help you estimate like returns, and they don't help you value a stock. Um, but they help you kind of think through the business, and then you'll have to kind of put some numbers around it on your own through the things that you learn in this course, and then you'll get to take that next additional step on top, which is to value it. And then there's another step on top of that, which is to figure out like how much to buy, right? Like what position size do you want to make a particular stock, right? And those are the things that they don't talk about in these podcasts, but the podcast has a lot of really useful information. Okay, so another one is Invest Like the Best. So it's under the same kind of brand of podcasts under Colossus, and they interview like a lot of different people. Like they'll interview, venture capitalists, hedge fund guys, CEOs, and just they'll talk about like, hey, what was your experience like? What are like really useful frameworks that you used? What are the things that frameworks that you use to be successful? Jeff Green, modernizing advertising. This was a really good one, by the way. Dan Rose. Dan worked really closely with Jeff Bezos, like in the early days of Amazon, and he worked really close with Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook. And so he gives like really amazing like anecdotes about what it was like working with Jeff Bezos and like how Jeff Bezos thinks, how Dan thinks, like what are the lessons that he's learned. Just really, really high quality stuff that you can use not only as an investor, but like personal development, career development. Um, it's run by this guy Patrick O'Shaughnessy, and he does really really good podcasts. Patrick is also on Twitter, and he's also worth a follow on Twitter. But his main content is on on his podcasts, which is Invest Like the Best and Business Breakdowns. The third podcast I really like is the All In podcast. Um, so this one is like it's a weekly podcast. It's longer form. It's like an hour to 2 hours long, um, and they talk about like just kind of news, right? Like world news, like politics, um, the markets, um, and it's basically three guys that are like titans of industry in the venture capital world, um, and they have like very useful and thoughtful perspectives on just news and politics and the markets. Um, and I generally prefer these three sources over like more traditional like media outlets. But that's not to say that like you ignore CNBC and stuff. That CNBC is obviously it's useful, but like when you just like watch CNBC, they don't really give you a ton of like context on what frameworks they're using or kind of defining the terms that they're talking about. But listening to these podcasts, the information is presented in more of a first principles way, and so it helps you develop your thinking more than just watching the news would. So okay, so that's source number 10, and source number 11 is potentially over the next 5 to 10 years going to be like the most powerful information source, which is ChatGPT and Google's Bard. So ChatGPT is right now there's a lot of inaccuracies when it comes to like specific numbers. So I wouldn't rely on ChatGPT for numbers, but you can use them for um, like really introductory questions um, that you can ask about a business or an industry, and you'll get some really useful information. It looks like I forgot my password here. Okay, so that's a little annoying. Let's see. What was my password? All right, why don't we try Bard? Sorry, this video is running a little bit long, but there's a lot of really useful places that you can get information, so I want to make sure that I cover everything. Okay. Man, all these tools just require you to log in and just create so much friction. Whoops, that is not the email I needed to log in. All right, now I have to go into my phone to like verify this. Feels like these big tech companies like want me to just be glued to my phone all day. Like I'm trying to put my phone away, and then it makes it impossible when I have to log into these things and they require me to do some like two-factor authentication bullshit. Okay. All right, cool. Jesus. All right, yes, it's me. Yes, continue to sign in. Okay, 72. There we go. All right, we're finally in. Okay, so all right, we'll see where the kind of the limitations are with these AI tools, right? So let's say what problem is Costco solving? Okay, here we go. Cost savings. Yep, sells in bulk. Yep, gallon of milk. Okay, so this is where you probably don't want to trust the AI tool right now, right? Is the numbers. But generally, yeah, cost savings, that's one of the big reasons. That's one of the big problems that Costco is solving, right? Convenience, right? A wide variety. Yep. Quality, yep. Sense of community. Yeah. Yeah. So see, like the thing that they haven't really included here is that there's a couple things we'll talk about in the next video, but they didn't talk about the treasure hunt aspect of the business model, right? So this is so okay. So let's say, how does Costco make money? Yep, membership fees, merchandise sales. Those are like the two things, and nailed it. Um, so what are key concerns with Costco's business today? There we go. Very successful competition from other warehouse clubs. Okay, changing consumer preferences. Yeah, I mean, this is probably the big one. Everything, if people end up valuing the convenience and the time savings over, spending like 4 hours going to Costco. So it gives you like a good overview. And the thing is, these tools will only get better over time. So I would start kind of just using these tools more regularly because in 5 years these tools are going to be really powerful, and they might end up just replacing like all the other information sources. Um, and so yeah, like those are the 11 things, right? To quickly like run through them one more time. It's Yahoo Finance for overall company filings, or sorry, overall financial data. Number two is company filings that you can get on BAM SEC or um, with the company website. And there's the free version will get you pretty far, but as the number of students in this course, the number of signups grows, I'll contact the founders and see if we can get some kind of like group discount going that we can share, in the group, um, which I'm sure they're like more than willing to do because it's like free customer acquisition for them. Um, Source number three is company presentations. Not every company will have them, but if they do, it'll be on the company website. If you just Google the name of the company, space investor relations, and just kind of tick through those, like just poke around the website. Number five is news articles. Number six is Reddit. Number seven is YouTube videos. Number eight is investing blogs. Number nine is Twitter/newsletters. Number 10 is podcasts. And number 11 is these AI tools like ChatGPT and Bard. Okay, so those are the 11 places that you can find information. And the key thing is to be like Sherlock Holmes and kind of look for little clues here and there, right? Like if you see a bunch of Reddit threads saying like, Costco is skimping on product quality and, they're like price gouging, then that would be like a huge red flag, right? Like when you are analyzing Costco stock. That's theme number one. Theme number two is, don't get lost in the details. Just kind of stay focused on those 6 key questions. And then number three is to, focus on facts and ignore opinions, right? You want to form your own view based on the facts, and then realize that like your view might change over time, right? Like investing is like this game of just having a constant working hypothesis. And one of the things that one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is confusing a hypothesis for a conclusion, right? Hypotheses is not the same thing as conclusions, right? And it takes a long time to really come to like a conclusion based on hard, solid facts that demonstrate signal and aren't like filled with noise, right? That takes a lot of research to get to, and a lot of times that stuff can change over time, right? And so you're constantly like monitor. You don't have to like read every day about stuff that you own, but just kind of generally keeping up with what's happening in the industries that you're invested in is it's kind of a really helpful way to manage investments. And it's kind of something you unfortunately have to do if you want to manage your own money, right? So this is a game where if you don't enjoy the process, you should probably just index because it is like a fair amount of work. But if you do enjoy it, I mean, the benefits are insane, right? Like you just become a better business thinker, and no matter what industry you're in, being a good business thinker can help your career. Or if you do own a business, obviously being an investor and managing your own wealth is a really helpful kind of complementary skill set. Right, as Warren Buffett says, I'm a better investor because I'm a businessman. I'm a better businessman because I'm an investor. So it might seem like it's somewhat time consuming, and it'll probably eat up like a couple hours, like every weekend or every other weekend. But if you enjoy it, it's like a fun hobby, right? And unless you see investing as a fun hobby, you should probably index, if I'm being like completely honest, right? So that we want a little bit of tangent there. But for the practice exercise on this video, I know we ran a little bit long here, but hopefully you're playing this at 2 times speed. But yeah, like spend 5 to 10 minutes poking through all those different sources for Costco, for Spotify, for Basic Fit, and see if you can find some information that might help you answer those 6 key questions. Um, but yeah, in the next several modules, we will go through those questions together. But if you spend some time on your own, kind of poking around, then this stuff will, it'll sink in deeper, right? Um, Unfortunately, I wish that there was a way that I could just download everything in my brain over the past, 10 years and 10,000 hours that I've spent into yours. But unfortunately, you're just going to have to like poke around and spend some time on this. And that's really the only way that it'll sink in. But hopefully I can help you save some time and not waste a lot of time like I did, early on in my development as an investor. But again, I apologize that this video ran a little bit long, but there's a lot of useful information in here, I think. So yeah, that's it. That's it for this video. And also post your comments, questions, or random thoughts, in the comment section below as usual. If you do when you do the practice exercise, if you find something interesting, post it in the comments, and we'll have like a nice back and forth, and we can kind of grow as a community and really help each other develop as an investor through the comment section on these videos. So yeah, let's keep going. I'll see you in the next video.